move them around. You can form a classroom by moving 3 walls, making a U shape. You can make any kind of configuration, and they can also be used for pin-up. And right now, I think they're being used for sittings for the lectures. So those are the new pieces that you see there. Okay. Well, tonight I was asked to give an introduction to Giuseppe Lignano and Tolla. And I only met Giuseppe very, very briefly one evening at the party that Buchhardt gave for them, I think a couple of months ago. But I always felt like we have a lot of affinity together. Some of them may be rather superficial, but one of the things that I have in terms of experiencing Napoli is a very, very short experience. Unfortunately, not as good as the one as both of them have in New York. When a few years ago, when Craig and I were driving down to from Spelonga to Napoli, we got off the highway, pulled into the city, immediately got lost. And as we were getting lost, we pulled over to a side street to look at a map, which of course immediately Giuseppe said, "Oh no, don't do that." And so we pulled into this small street, and there was maybe about 5 or 6 young guys driving their Vespa. They saw us, they scoped out the scene, they knew who we are, and within one split second, one of them fell in front of my car without I even knew about it. The door was swung open, the bags, camera, everything just went. And that took literally less than 5 minutes. So that was my experience of Napoli.
But you invited us despite that.
Yes. Well, I think that there's something to me which was very interesting about it, because I think that coming from a country which is so incredibly rich in the visual arts, I think that both of you really have a great aptitude as being able to see things very quickly and appropriate it. And so for me, it is not really surprising that when you came to New York, you both Ada and Giuseppe was able to just appropriate the scene in New York and kind of metabolize the city almost instantly. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about what I think they see. I think they see things often which are often taken for granted because those things are part of our quotidian reality. They take what is familiar, what is mundane, what is casual, normal, discarded, obsolete, irrelevant, and they find untapped possibilities and probabilities in them. I can really relate to that because I am a junkie. But I think both Ada and Giuseppe are urban scavengers. And as urban scavengers, they have found ways to appropriate all sorts of urban visual noise. Whether they are fire escape hanging out in front of the building, or air conditioning, or skateboard, or anything that we really just consider background. Those kind of, they really take into those architectural appurtenances with great panache and with great appetite. It is as if they are walking through the cities with scanners in their eyes. And when I was writing this, I forgot that the new book is called Urban Scan. And they make an inventory and documented urban artifacts and industrial objects to produce a dense encyclopedia to help us see new forms, textures, and colors of the urban environment. I think that with this kind of inventory, their work often assign new meaning to a pre-existing object by changing the original function of that object, whether it is a jet fuselage converted into a shell for a pavilion, or by combining different technology, or by using pre-existing, prefabricated industrial object. They look at this from a different perspective. They look at the conventional and turn it into the unconventional. They continue their quest for what it means to exist within our contemporary cultural and social context of media, technology, and habitation. I would like to share with you an excerpt written by William Gibson, because I know that both of you took that name from Bill. And this is something which he wrote a few years ago when we were collaborating on a project in San Francisco. He admires people who build things, who add to the structure. He admires whoever built this room, this cork box of 10-ply fur, perched and humming in the wind. The room's floor is a double layer of pressure-treated 2x4, laid on edge, broken by an achingly graceful form. Skinner no longer sees the curve of the big cable drawn up over its saddle of steel, 17,464 pencil-thick wires. His rooms measure 15 by 15 feet. The plywood walls softened by perhaps a dozen coats of white latex paint, higher reflective index than aluminum foil. He thinks 17,464 strands per cable. Facts often now, he feels himself, a void through which facts tumble, facts and faces making no connection. The bridge's bone, its stranded tendon are lost within an accretion of dreams, tattoo parlors, shooting galleries, pinball arcade, dimly lit stores stacked with damp-stained years of men's magazine, chili joints, premises of unlicensed denturists, fireworks stalls, cut bait sellers, betting shop, sushi bars, purveyor of sexual appliance, pawnbrokers, wonton counters, love hotels, hot dog stands, a tortilla factory, Chinese greengrocers, liquor store, herbalists, chiropractors, barbers, taco shop, and bars. These are dreams of commerce, their location generally corresponding to the decks originally intended for vehicular traffic. Above them, rising towards the peaks of the cable towers, lived intricate barrio, zone of more private fantasies, sheltering an unnumbered population of uncertain means and obscure occupation. This was our vision of the San Francisco Bay Bridge, when the homeless were driven out of the city, and took over the bridge. Now you're going to see low-tech's vision of the city. Please welcome Ada Tolla.
Thanks, Ming, for the great introduction, and thanks Thank you, all of you, for being here. We're very, very happy to be in Los Angeles and be at SCI-Arc in this fantastic building. I think we're going to go straight into our presentation, and we'll talk afterwards. All the lights out, yeah.
Is that
Can we
the
get
most
them all
I
out?
can?
1, 2, 3. Abandon, cast off, debris, decay, decomposed, delete, demolish, destroyed, detritus, discard, dismantle, disperse, disposable, disrupt, dissolve, ejected, erase, expelled, erosion, explode, fraction, fragment, left, leftover, mutilated, neglected, obsolete, partial, portion, refuse, rejected, residue, scrap, sediment, segment, surplus, trash, throwaway, throw out, truncated, waste, wasteland.
Project CHK Container Home Kit. Competition for the Home House project as an alternative to the Habitat for Humanity's model for affordable housing. CHK Container Home Kit combines multiple shipping containers to build affordable homes. Conceived as a kit of parts, the basic unit, a 40-foot-long shipping container, is transformed into an expandable module. Sections of its corrugated metal walls can be cut out without compromising its structural integrity. The resulting openings can be used to join containers side by side in order to create the living room or to attach prefabricated subvolumes that expand the width of the container to create bedroom, bathrooms, and kitchen, and to furnish additional features like entry closet and mechanical rooms. The secondary units, prefabricated subvolumes, are sized and designed to fit specific functions and are used to expand rooms. The shipping containers are combined in both directions to create several configurations varying in size from 2 to 5 bedroom homes, offering at the same time an interesting opportunity to create a variety of volumes and interior spaces. The flexibility of the system also allows adding bathrooms and other features cost-effectively at a later stage with minimum work. The houses are positioned on site on 2 parallel strips of concrete, used also for pedestrian and car access throughout the lot. CHK houses are recyclable themselves as they can be disassembled and reassembled elsewhere.
Absence, all-purpose, amnesia, bald, banal, bare, basic, blank, careless, common, desert, empty, exposed, faceless, generic, indefinite, institutional, lack, less, marginal, naked, nameless, non-classified, nondescript, nothingness, nowhere, nude, obvious, off, ordinary, raw, reveal, scattered, secondary, sparse, sporadic, stripped, transparent, uninhabited, unrefined, unsophisticated, utilitarian, vacant, vacuum, vague, versatile, void, zero.
Project, the Bowen Foundation, Meatpacking District, New York. The Bowen Foundation is a private foundation that supports contemporary art and culture, commissioning and exhibiting works of a scale and complexity that does not lend itself to the context of a normal gallery. Its operation requires maximum spatial flexibility to allow the exhibition of all different media, from two-dimensional drawings and paintings to projections, sculptural objects, site-specific work, and multimedia installations. 8 shipping container sections are introduced within the rigid square structural grid of the ground floor of a former printing facility. 2 container sections are positioned within each nave of the existing structural grid. They contain all the permanent activities functioning at the same time as a movable enclosure. On the outside of each section, 5 15 by 12 foot wall panels are packed on each side. The containers generate exhibition spaces by sliding along tracks to preset locations. Once they're moved to the intended positions, the wall panels are unfolded to outline different exhibition spaces. The modularity of the wall panels allows these exhibition spaces to be formed in a variety of sizes and shapes according to different curatorial needs. A long section of the ground floor is cut out and covered with removable metal grating. Container sections and their wall panels can be aligned along this floor opening to create double-height exhibition spaces. Along with the high flexibility in the spatial organization, the device system creates a strong visual distinction between the raw warehouse space and the super wide, smooth interior of the exhibition areas. The container section houses a variety of enclosed functions: lounge, offices, conference room, video library projection room. The basic furniture within each container is cut and bent out of the container skin itself. The resulting planes are layered with clear resin, foam, or rubber to be transformed into desks, benches, or shelves, and still display the container's texture and colors.
Alter, amplify, bisect, break, change, chop, clip, compact, compress, concentrate, condense, consolidate, crop, cut, cut off, cut out, detach, dilate, divide, edit, elongate, enhance, enlarge, expand, extend, extrude, flip, fold, freeze, half, increase, lengthen, magnify, maximize, minimize, move, offset, reduce, retract, rotate, scale, section, separate, shrink, squeeze, split, stitch, stretch.
Project Bunde Shop, Seoul, Korea. A band made out of translucent fiberglass panels is placed on both floors of a raw concrete structure. The band floats in the space without touching either the floor or the ceiling, leaving the existing shell in its raw state. It is supported by a steel pipe frame. The band panels are contoured to create two indentations. As the panels are repeated to generate the band, these indentations generate continuous grooves, a lower one for shoes and a larger upper one for boots, bags, and other accessories. Rolling walls made out of the same panels are plugged into such grooves like tracks. The rolling walls are used to break up the space on both floors to create individual bays for each designer on the lower floor and two distinct exhibition areas on the ground floor. The band glows with fluorescent light produced by fluorescent tubes attached to the rear of each fiberglass panel. Different colored gels can be installed around the fluorescent tubes to change the color of part or the whole environment.
Assemble, assemblage, assembly line, attach, brand, collage, combine, compatible, component, connect, disassemble, element, format, interchangeable, install, join, kit, line up, meld, modular, part, prefab, procedure, process, prototype, ready-made, model, reassemble, reattachable, replaceable, stackable, standard, standardization, system, type, unit.
Project Gore Memorial, competition for a museum and memorial on slave trade and navigation in Dakar, Senegal. A single architectural concept unites a memorial with the Museum Research Center to express the brutality of the slave trade as well as the excitement of the transatlantic exploration that coexisted at the time of the discovery of the New World. The building itself is designed to achieve a monumental value. At a territorial level, it marks the earth-water edge at the westernmost point of Africa. At the urban level, it intrudes from the ocean into the fabric of Dakar. At a more experiential level, it takes visitors on paths through interior-exterior spaces to modulate the intensity of their experience. The memorial is a monolithic element suspended between earth and water, jutting out into the ocean or penetrating into the land, about to take off or just landed. The memorial is a truncated link between Black Africa and the Black Americas. The memorial is entirely made of shipping containers. The containers used here as a symbol of global trade and movement, as well as oppression and confinement, are inscribed with the names of all the different destinations, typical of both slave trade and discovery journeys. The container is the basic constructive element of the memorial. As a spatial brick, it is used for its inner space, as well as to delineate larger spaces, the halls. As a self-supporting modular element, it has been pierced, stacked, and combined to adapt to all different functions required by the program. The memorial is conceived as layers of containers corresponding to layers of functions, interlocking with one another to form one self-contained horizontal prism. The spatial experience is modulated by the contrast between the expansive halls defined by walls of stacked containers and the tunnel-like container interiors. The experience of the Slave Trade Museum is at once spatial and emotional. Its placement on the lower part of the building emulates the hold of a ship. So does its labyrinth-like layout, where a succession of fragmented corridors and small halls recreates the atmosphere of the densely filled space of a slave trading ship. The containers are pierced for cross-circulation and illumination and furnished with glass showcases embedded in their sides. In the Navigation Museum, on the layer immediately above, parallel corridors open up into large halls, where large openings reveal the sight of land, ocean, and sky. The alternating rhythm of narrow enclosures and sudden wide openings is here again to link spatial and emotional experience, suggesting the surprise of discovery and the excitement of exploration. The 4 layers above, which house temporary exhibition, research center, and offices, look into the halls of the Navigation Museum and in the main entrance hall, where a line of containers is transformed into a system of elevators to distribute visitors at all different levels. The horizontal circulation is achieved through a shuttle that slides on the top layer along one side of the building.
Aberrant, abnormal, abstruse, absurd, alien, anomaly, blur, cacophony, cicatrix, contort, crack, crashed, defective, deform, dent, dissonance, disturbance, distortion, faulty, flaw, hiccup, hybrid, incline, incompatible, incongruous, instability, intricate, lisp, malfunction, obscene, odd, out of focus, out of plumb, peculiarity, primitive, scar, strident, tasteless, uncanny, uncommon, unfamiliar, unnatural, unusual, warped, weird.
Project Gassman Penthouse, Midtown, New York. The Gassman Penthouse results from the transformation of a mechanical room and the addition of a compact bedroom with patio on top of it on a roof right below the Empire State Building. The upstairs bedroom and a bay window at the main level are stacked on top of each other like modular structures. The bay window, the back portion of a truck container, is wedged into the south wall, while the master bedroom, a 20-foot-long truck container, is added on top of the existing structure. The yellow aluminum container is partially peeled of its walls to create an outdoor patio. In the minimal interior, efficiently insulated and air-conditioned, the bed on tracks moves in and out of the closet to allow sleeping as well as lounging. An internal fire escape ladder connects the bedroom to the living room. The interior of the existing structure houses an open layout of living, dining, kitchen, and a separate bedroom for the child. It is brought back to a simple white shell except for the exposed steel pipes and beams and for the longitudinal wall, which constitute the visual and functional spine of this loft space. An exposed grid of bolts compresses an insulation layer between the existing wall and a corrugated metal skin on the outside. Its interior side is left unfinished but flush, and the trace guidelines remain visible. Refrigerators and newspaper dispenser pierce this wall and stretch out the interior space towards the outside. Newspaper dispensers become small windows and the only lookout points along the wall, while the refrigerator boxes are filled with technological functions. Listen, hi-fi system, pull-out drawers for CDs and tapes. Watch, video intercom, pull-out TV set, and vertical monitor connected to a surveillance camera trained to the Empire State Building. Read, bookcase.
Accidental, adventure, appetite, arbitrary, byproduct, casual, chain reaction, challenge, chance, chaos, coincidence, curious, desire, discover, doubt, eager, emergency, encounter, error, event, experiential, experimental, explore, happen, hint, imaginary, improvise, incident, ingenious, instinct, involuntary, lapsus, mistake, multiple choice, obsessive, obstinate, occasion, occur, phenomenon, probability, prone, random, relativism, snap, uncertain, unexpected, unexplored, unintentional, unplanned, unpredictable, unpremeditated.
Project Indoor Skateboard Park, Chicago. The unique requirement in skateboarding of a sloping continuous curved surface makes a steel water tank the perfect shell for an indoor skateboard facility. The design exploits the curvature of the tank walls to configure an interconnected system of ramps for continuous gliding. The park is also conceived as a place for social interaction. To satisfy functions of teenage gathering, a dense repetition of vending machines, lockers, and seating alcoves runs along an interior 360-degree walkway. The path is located at the top of the skating ramp and is animated by graphics and light. The whole inner surface of the tank is coated with white epoxy to be used as a spherical projection screen, introducing the skaters into virtual landscapes. The tank is placed directly on the ground, in a city, in a desert, on the water.
Absorb, accumulate, add on, adhere, adopt, alien, annex, acquire, amass, assimilate, bury, climb, cling, contagious, contaminate, embed, embody, encapsulate, enclose, extraneous, fill, immerge, incorporate, incubate, infest, infiltrate, inject, insert, intercept, interfere, intersect, intrude, invade, jut out, merge, nidification, occupy, overlap, parasite, penetrate, perturb, perforate, permeate, pierce, prosthesis, protrude, protuberance, saturate, stratify, sunk, swallow, tentacular, virus, wrap.
Project Inspirotainer, commissioned for Workspheres, Museum of Modern Art, New York. An airplane cargo container, LD3, is transformed into an individual workstation that blurs the boundaries between work, play, activity, relaxation, isolation, communication, meditation, and entertainment. Inside, the container is fitted with a movable seat and desk that allow the user's body to go from a lounging, reclining position to an upright position. Both seat and top are operated by hydraulic pistons connected to two separate hydraulic pumps installed on the back of the container. The container is conceived as a modular and movable unit that can provide complete isolation or be combined to allow teamwork. Its top front portion opens up to connect to more Inspirotainers and create a meeting room. The Inspirotainer is an incubator for ideas. It is equipped with computer, flat-screen monitor, stereo DVD-CD player, surround sound speakers, LCD projector, retractable screen, reading lights, and ventilation fans. All inside surfaces are lined with convoluted foam used both as padding and acoustic insulation. All technologies and mechanisms are operated by a touchscreen panel through which the user can easily activate and select preferred configurations.
Abstract, abstraction, apparition, assumption, brain, cerebral, code, concept, conceptual, dream, essence, essential, fantasy, formula, geometry, hallucination, hypothetical, idea, ideal, imaginary, intellectual, intention, invention, logical, mental, metaphor, rational, scheme, symbolic, theory, thought, transcendent, typical, unapplied, unpractical, vision, visionary, visual, visualize.
Project Lightgate, West Village, New York. An illumination and surveillance device marks a narrow corridor connecting two previously separate apartments. It recreates a metal detector-like experience, acting as a luminous filter from the outside world into the privacy of a home. A total of 4 clear resin panels are stacked and attached to the corridor walls, 2 on either side. The panels are cast using a plastic shipping pallet as the mold. The intricate geometry of the pallet's relief is transferred onto the panel surface. 6 neon tubes and 1 surveillance camera are embedded in the cast of each panel. The device illuminates and surveils the passage of people through the corridor as they enter the apartment. Its feed is displayed on 4 flat-screen monitors affixed to the living room wall. The body going through the corridor is broken up and recomposed in 4 views. Project Lightscapes, New York. Neon tubes cast in resin using discarded vacuum form product packaging as the mold makes up a series of lights. The linear tubes penetrate and illuminate the different shapes of the color resin, presenting the cast forms of each fixture as a unique object. As a series, the neon tubes register a barcode-like pattern of light within the random forms. Each fixture reveals the shape of the object from the mold, the details shown in its positive relief in the resin.
Access, airline, airmail, antenna, audio, broadcast, cable, cell phone, channel, communicate, connection, dial tone, email, enter, exit, frequency, globalization, hub, interface, keyboard, keypad, link, mesh, monitor, multi-channel, multidimensional, multidirectional, multimedia, net, network, node, online, on-screen, radar, satellite, signal, simulcast, surveillance, technology, telecommunication, terminal, touchtone, transmission, transmit, video conferencing, wavelength, web, wire, wired, wireless, worldwide.
Project MDU, Mobile Dwelling Unit. A full-scale prototype is currently exhibited at the Art Museum at UCSB. One shipping container is transformed into a mobile dwelling unit. Conceived for individuals moving around the globe, the MDU travels with its dweller to the next long-term destination, fitted with all live-work equipment and filled with the dweller's belongings. Once it reaches its destination, the MDU is loaded in MDU vertical harbors, located in all major metropolitan areas. The harbor is a multiple-level steel rack, measuring 8 feet in width, the width of one container, and varying in length according to the site. Its stretched linear development is generated by the repetition of MDUs and vertical distribution corridors. Elevators, stairs, and all systems, power, data, water, sewage, run vertically along these corridors. A crane slides parallel to the building along the entire length on its own tracks. It picks up MDUs as they're driven to the site and loads them onto slots along the rack. Steel brackets support and secure MDUs in their assigned position, where they're plugged in to connect to all systems. The vertical harbor is in constant transformation as MDUs are loaded and unloaded from the permanent rack. Like pixels in a digital image, temporary patterns are generated by the presence or absence of MDUs in different locations along the rack, reflecting the ever-changing composition of these colonies scattered around the globe. Cuts in the metal walls of the containers generate extruded subvolumes, each encapsulating one live, work, or storage function. When traveling, these subvolumes are pushed in, filling the entire container, interlocking with each other, and leaving the outer skin of the container flush to allow worldwide standardized shipping. When in use, all subvolumes are pushed out, leaving the interior of the container completely unobstructed, with all functions accessible along its sides. The interior of the container and all the subvolumes are fabricated out of plywood and plastic-coated plywood, and include all built-in furniture. MDU on a flatbed truck, in transport, uncovered, strapped, lifted, placed on the ground, in the landscape of the Walker Art Center. View from the entrance, the kitchen, the nook, the entertainment center.
Hold on.
Oh. Good, because I kept seeing them on my map.
Torna indietro, Ale. Torna indietro.
You can see them, right? Okay, I go back to.
You have a spare bulb?
For once, it's not our fault. Did something get unplugged?
No, secondo me è saltata la lampadina. Spero che c'è un altro proiettore, un'altra lampadina.
Well, we're half the way through.
Huh? Sempre così.
I get very tense. Yeah, which is a bit expanded before, yeah, it's really like a and then it's like the past few times, Giuseppe like before me, so it's always an extra project. It's kind of really because it sucks you in. That's very lucky because almost all the time every bag was like just about sort of shocking. Okay, we're back. Just like in Italian movies where there is an intermission, still. Okay.
Go.
MDU on a flatbed truck, in transport, uncovered, strapped, lifted, placed on the ground in the landscape of the Walker Art Center. View from the entrance, the kitchen, the nook, the entertainment center, the office, the closet, the bedroom, the sink, the toilet and shower. The main volume of the MDU allows room for many guests, as shown here in the opening reception. The shelf, the sofa, the MDU team, that's it.
Alphabet, announcement, advertisement, barcode, billboard, binary code, chart, codify, cross-reference, data, database, decipher, decode, detect, diagram, digital, digitalize, directions, download, graph, graphics, index, information, initialize, input, instructions, itemize, interpret, list, map, media, numbering, pixel, plan, program, scan, scheme, scroll, select, sign, signage, subtitles, tabulated, tag, warning.
Project, San Jose University Art Museum competition. The new SJSU Art Museum is conceived as a single building located along the open side of the existing U-shaped art school, allowing a viable courtyard to remain. The new building bridges over the top and wedges in between the east and west wings of the existing art school building without touching the ground. The front facade stretches to the east and west, cantilevering over and absorbing the end elevation of both existing wings. It is designed to act as a billboard within the campus. Different colors outline different zones according to the main functions that lie behind them within the core of the building. The Art Museum establishes a significant presence along the major pedestrian mall of the campus, becoming a new face and a filter for the art school, which in turn assumes a more private realm. Shipping containers are stacked to create two parallel walls 50 feet apart. The space between these two walls is divided into 3 levels. The main level is on top, housing the lobby, an interior courtyard, and the exhibition area. Immediately below is a whole floor of storage and archive. The bottom level is occupied by the performance hall, with the main house suspended below the container walls. The exhibition area is modulated by a system of large sliding wall panels that create galleries of various sizes in 500 square foot units, as required by the curatorial program. The space inside the 2 walls of containers is used as circulation, utilities, offices, restrooms, kitchens, and so on. A glass skin hangs from the cantilever end of the steel beams, creating a 6-foot gap from the face of the container. This gap activates the glass facade with catwalks and stairs that serve as the main public circulation.
Also, alternative, ambiguity, amphibian, any, bilingual, biodiversity, biracial, bisexual, complex, complexions, complicated, composite, cross-dressed, crossover, dichotomy, differ, differentiate, diverse, diversification, double, duplicity, each, eclectic, else, ethnicity, exception, exotic, foreign, gender, heterogeneous, identity, individual, minority, mixed, other, plural, plus, polarity, polycentric, polychrome, polyrhythmic.
Project Mixer, Media Cocoon, Guggenheim Museum Collection, New York. Mixer transforms a steel cement mixer into a 21st century media cocoon suitable for lounging, viewing, and dreaming. Fitted with vertical banks of 12-inch monitors connected to a variety of audio-video inputs, Mixer offers a plush, intimate environment animated by multiple forms of information, entertainment, and media. As Mixer pivots on its central axis, surveillance camera number 1 surveys the room in which the mixer is located. Cables coming out of the upper slip ring reach the roof of the building to connect to satellite TV and to surveillance camera number 2. City landscapes are transmitted to the monitors inside the mixer, together with the infinite channel selection of satellite TV. PlayStation 2 brings virtual reality games, movies, and fast internet connection into this capsule. Resting on the extra soft blue foam, users can create multiple visual configurations of the 12 screens through a central router for a media overload. Mixer offers, in the spirit of a DJ mixing booth, a space for one or few people to select, sample, and mix sound and imagery to suit individual fantasies.
Accessorized, air-conditioned, airtight, appliance, apparatus, automatic, built-in, capsule, collapsible, comfortable, compact, compartmentalized, convenient, convertible, customized, efficient, electric, ergonomic, gadgeted, hydraulic, hygienic, hyperfunctional, immunized, insulated, mechanical, microhabitat, motorized, movable, multifunctional, multipurpose, padded, plug-in, pneumatic, portable, pop-up, reclinable, self-contained, self-operating, self-starting, self-supporting, useful, useless, waterproof, water-resistant, watertight.
Project Morton Loft, West Village, New York. A petroleum trailer tank is devised to encapsulate private areas within the apartment. It is imported into a loft space on the 4th floor of a former parking garage. The tank is cut in 2 sections that enclose intimate functions, leaving the surrounding space undivided and unobstructed. One of the 2 sections is placed horizontally over the living room and contains 2 sleeping pods. 4 large hatchback doors cut from either side of the tank are operated by hydraulic pistons and open up at the push of a button to offer sunlight and ventilation to those in bed. The second section is placed vertically from floor to ceiling. It contains 2 bathrooms stacked on top of each other. Its interior is coated with automotive enamel, while all plumbing is exposed on its outside. A fire escape ladder leads to a ring of metal grating catwalks at the mezzanine level. The metal grating is filled with clear resin to generate a smooth walking surface. The catwalk grating gives access to the upper bathroom, the sleeping pods, as well as to closets on either side.
Eccentric, anti-gravity, antithesis, aslant, contradict, contrary, crooked, dare, decentralize, defy, deficient, deregulate, despite, discordance, disestablish, disappropriate, disregard, dissymmetric, illegal, illegitimate, illicit, illogical, impertinent, inappropriate, incorrect, indecent, imperfect, imprecise, impure, imperfect, incoherent, inaccurate, insufficient, irregular, limp, oblique, subvert, tilted, unbalanced, unequal, uneven, unstable.
Project Ret Inevitable 1.5, projection space for the 1999 Chicago Art Fair. A dynamic illuminated core is defined within a larger nondescript conference center at the Chicago Navy Pier. The visual programs are rear projected onto the core walls, employing large mirrors to double the image size. Red navigation lights direct people to the entrance of the core, where slits in between images allow entry. Once inside, video art and short films engulf the viewers in a 360-degree experience. Vinyl-coated pool chairs are attached directly to the floor via turntable mechanisms to allow viewers to spin in a circle. Each chair is equipped with infrared remote headsets to choose program and control sound. Ret Inevitable 1.5 investigates the experience of viewing cinema per se, exploring the physical aspect of total absorption in a cinematographic space.
Abrupt, alternating, changeable, cyclic, discontinuous, ephemeral, expired, evanescent, immediate, impermanent, incomplete, inconstant, in progress, instantaneous, interim, intermittent, interrupted, momentary, ongoing, phase, present, prop up, recurrent, sudden, temporary, transient, transitory, unfinished, variable, vanishing.
Project Sound Channel, Bitstream Exhibit, Whitney Museum, New York. Sound Channel is a listening channel in which visitors can relax by leaning against a diagonal foam wall while enjoying 25 different sound pieces selected for the Bitstream exhibit. Each piece is accessible on its own set of headphones connected to a dedicated CD player. The players are inserted in an exposed metal stud wall frame parallel to the leaning foam wall. 50 fluorescent tubes wrapped in dark blue gels are attached to this wall frame, which is wrapped with clear plastic tarp. The fluorescent tubes are activated by sensors highlighted by red spotlights that are obstructed when visitors lean against the foam wall. From outside the installation within the exhibition lobby, visitors are partially visible as they lean and listen, creating a long row of bodies and gaps that, together with the rhythm of on-off fluorescent tubes, echo the sequence of ones and zeros that constitute a beat stream. Fluorescent yellow tape on the floor leads visitors to the marked listening stations.
Agglomerate, coexist, confusion, congestion, cohabit, conurbation, cosmopolis, crowd, density, disorder, disorient, endless, enormous, exchange, interact, interconnect, loud, mass, mass media, mass production, mass transportation, megalopolis, mess, metropolis, multi-centered, multicolored, multicultural, multi-ethnic, multiform, multi-layered, multilingual, multiracial, multitude, noise, overbuilt, overgrown, overstimulate, overwhelm, sprawling, suburban, urban, urbanized.
Project, the new World Trade Center, proposal for an exhibition at Max Protege Gallery. There is a value to a depression in a dense urban condition. The concept for the World Trade Center is based on the absence generated on September 11th, wherein rebuilding a memorial became one in the process of rethinking and reconnecting downtown. In the hyperdensity of Lower Manhattan, the void left by the towers is more than a symbol of violence. It presents a condition of revealing, displaying elements of the city that generally go unseen. The void is the bathtub, dug during the construction of the towers, a pit 7 stories deep and the size of 4 city blocks. The bathtub accentuates and depresses the void, creating an edge, a fracture, that severs the site in both plan and section. The remains of the World Trade Center are treated as a contemporary archaeological site that values its memory while making a positive intervention, occupying the void and preserving its sanctity. Its history is something to live with, not something to obscure. The ground becomes something to look at, but not to walk upon, while the bathtub remains a space of activity. Existing subway and path trains, together with the web of infrastructure, water, cable, sewage, and electricity line, occupy the void. This is not an archaeology of disaster, but an archaeology of the city. Pedestrian bridges span east-west, reconnecting Battery Park City and the World Financial Center. These paths are about journey and interaction as much as they're about destination. 2 parallel sets of containers compresses a series of translucent cells to house new public functions. Outside the bathtub, 8 towers are generated, extruding the space defined by the edge of the void and the existing streets. These extrusions are severed by the line of the fracture, exposing their raw concrete construction. A fragmented arrangement of horizontal translucent volumes, elevators, containers, and fire escapes creates a vertical public space of interaction. Elevators intersect with the pedestrian paths below, folding horizontal circulation into vertical transportation. As the future of Lower Manhattan is at the core of an ongoing debate, the height of the towers is not predetermined. The buildings are conceived as a single fragmented and fractured building. Their ongoing vertical growth is connected to and becomes an indicator of new or incremented uses for the area, financial expansion, and public psychological comfort.
Accelerate, bypass, cinematic, circulate, commute, drive in, drive-through, drop-off, dynamic, emigrate, errant, erratic, express, fast, fast-forward, flash, hectic, immigrant, jammed, jump, kinetic, mobile, mobility, movement, motion, navigate, nomad, orbit, oscillate, path, rush, rhythm, shortcut, spin, stir, take off, traffic, transit, transport, trajectory, vagrant, vector, vehicle, velocity, wander.
Project, Students Pavilion, Multifunctional Space, University of Washington Campus, Seattle. An 80-foot long section cut out between the main wings and the tail of a Boeing 747 fuselage is placed on a sloping site on the university campus overlooking Lake Washington. On site, the fuselage is held mid-air on a steel pipe cradle. A steel ramp allows access to its interior space. Inside, the airplane section is stripped down to reveal its intricate aluminum rib cage. The flooring on the main deck is substituted with metal grating and with a floor seating system of seating wheels that takes advantage of the lower freight hold. These wheels rotate between the floor beams to take 3 different positions: flat face up and raised above deck line, bench; flat face up and flush with deck line, floor; contoured face up and raised above deck line, lounge, plus all the random positions in between. By rotating and/or lifting these wheels, the interior of the fuselage can be set up in multiple configurations to be used for different events: lectures, screenings, performances, parties, lounging, and so on. Projection screens line the perimeter of the fuselage, and Ethernet and power is provided to all seats.
Activate, addict, affect, agitate, amaze, amusing, animate, appeal, attract, captivate, capture, compel, drive, engage, entertain, excite, exploit, impact, impel, induce, influence, initiate, instigate, interrogative, intrigue, motivate, prompt, provoke, push, stimulate, surprise, trigger, urge.
Project, Fast Train Station and Tower, Turin, Italy, competition. The passenger terminal is a single structure that spans 1,800 feet, the length of the entire site, and stands out as a dynamic hybrid urban element within the context of the city. The structure accommodates multiple functions, engaging the energy created by their juxtaposition. Passenger terminal and travel services intertwine with shopping, cultural, and entertainment activities. The structure also captures both indoor and outdoor spaces, alternating multi-level halls with two urban gardens. A 3-level steel frame is repeated to support walkways and modular enclosures that run the length of the entire site uninterrupted. Different levels correspond to the different functions, which remain visibly connected throughout the building. Spanning over the underground train tunnels, the ground level houses all travel-related functions. Culture and commerce flank the second floor walkways, and parking lanes occupy the roof. The underground movement of the trains along the building main axis is reflected both in the circulation of people and cars within and above the terminal, and it's shown virtually along the facade, together with the travel information and advertisement. Running between the two major thoroughfares, this 1,800-foot-long programmable billboard guarantees continuous revenue to the structure and a dynamic relationship to the city. The tower at one end of the terminal develops its multiple function along its vertical axis. Its hybrid program changes from public lobby shopping area connected to the terminal at the base to parking, offices, hotel, and finally restaurant and observatory deck at the top. The tower is thought of as an unfinished building, where a structural frame is plugged into prefabricated enclosures, shipping containers, to house program needs such as hotel room or office support functions.
Adapt, alienate, appropriate, associate, borrow, convert, derivative, disarrange, disconnect, displace, estrange, excavate, extract, found, import, juxtapose, manipulate, metamorphosis, misappropriate, modify, mutate, mutant, reconfigure, remove, rename, replace, rethink, reuse, reverse, shift, stranger, transfer, transmutation, transform, transpose, update.
Project TV Tank Television Lounging Tube. TV Tank transforms a petroleum trailer tank into a set of floating sections suitable for lounging and watching television. The 35-foot-long aluminum tank is sliced into 8 rings. Each module is lined all around with rubber tubing and equipped in this basic configuration with cable TV and remote control. Viewers lounge in the privacy of single or double sections while experiencing the once-hidden interior of the entire oil tank, now animated by the flicker of television light. Sections can be extracted to become individual viewing modules.
Artificial, clone, computerized, copy, counterfeit, dubbing, duplicate, fake, facsimile, icon, image, illusion, imitate, immaterial, iterate, microchip, multiple, render, repeat, replicant, reproduce, robotization, same, sampling, serialization, similitude, simulation, simulator, simultaneous, substitution, surrogate, synthetic, synonymous, synthesized, technicolor, 3D, virtual, virtual reality, video, video game, voice-activated, voicemail, Xerox, X-ray, Zoom.
Project Container Mall, New York. The project takes advantage of the inherent intelligence of standardized shipping containers to configure vertical malls that could be erected in leftover empty lots throughout the city. Each container module serves as an indoor booth in the fashion of an urban market. The sidewalk is replicated as catwalks, creating an outdoor arcade. Views and lodges are created by leaving out a selection of containers from the facade. The undulating facade is generated by shifting the containers back and forth from the lot line, creating balconies and overhangs onto the street.
The end.
Thank you.
Thank you for staying until the end.
Question, comments?
We'll take any questions and any comments. Yes.
You just said something about the shipping containers having a kind of intelligence. I guess I think of them as more neutral and that you can give them meaning, but do you actually, how do you think they have intelligence?
Well, for us, it's more what's the intelligence of the shipping container, basically. I mean, or is the intelligence of the shipping container just the fact that it's a neutral volume, therefore you can give it, whatever, you can transform it in whatever way you want and make it an intelligent thing. I think for us the excitement is more, and that's why we call them intelligent. On one end, I mean, it's mostly about the fact that it's an object that is being designed because of a whole series of reasons to be what it is, and a lot of human intelligence has gone into that design. And if you look at it, in a closer way, like we have done, these years, you realize that it's an extremely intelligent object. It's got a very precise way in which it's built, in which it's transported, in which it's moved. It can go by land, by sea, and on trains, on trucks, and it's really a system. The object is just a mean for this system, this network, to live. And for us, this is what is really fascinating about it, together with, of course, the fact that it's already a space. So it's also an interesting thing to start from. But it's really the idea that there are a lot of objects around us which are very much what we embrace in our project and what we take in what we've been exploring in all these years of practice is all these objects that are obviously designed by someone, although we don't know, they don't have a name attached to them. They're just there. And they're fantastic on the other end, you know, and the container is the more expressive of that, but tanks are just as intelligent and so on and so forth. And that, for us, you know, many, many times we've been asked, especially at the beginning of our work, if we were doing what we were doing because we were trying to recycle. And obviously there is a recycling aspect to what we do. Although we always felt that we do what we do because we're interested in something else. We're interested really in the creative endeavor of working with these objects and transforming them, and the fact that the creative process is one of interacting with a presence instead of just working with a blank piece of paper or a blank screen. But we are interested in the idea of recycling human intelligence, of starting from artifacts instead of starting from scratch.
Well,
Yes.
I'll ask you, because there seems to be an interesting balance between, let's say, a physicality, which is kind of found physicality, and then a highly sophisticated cybernetic communication. Could you expand on that? Because that seems to be a kind of interesting balance.
It's a little bit, you know, to paraphrase another question that we generally get asked, you know, which is why the name low tech, and that is also a little bit the answer to your question. The way that we intend what we do, and we intend also the name that we gave ourselves, is not about low technology per se, but the idea of the coexistence of low and tech. Thinking of technology as the highest material expression of this civilization, of the first world, so to speak, and then instead the presence of objects that are not going to go away from our reality. So to talk also about what Gibson was writing about the idea that technology, we cannot really see technology, we should not see technology as a fascist kind of thing that erases everything that comes before any new technology. You know, for that reason, we really believe that instead everything kind of layers and overlaps, and this happens also with the technology. We're very much interested in working on that tension between the high tech, the technology, for lack of a better word, and the presence of a very material reality that we're never really going to escape from, although we might dream of that. I guess it's a little bit idea. Scanning the room. Yeah, well, I mean, for us, it's the introduction of another reality, the reality that more so than the media, technologies are not pregnant with the content that we give them. I mean, they are, that's the reason why they exist, I guess. It's a push behind them. But, you know, technologies are just what they are. The possibility of using a camera and you know, capturing an image and then projecting on a wall or or in a monitor. It's not necessarily about the media, about the content, about, you know, about that. And the way that we generally we are interested very much in dealing with the technologies, exactly almost for I guess something connected to what you're asking. It's the idea of taking also some sort of active action, towards these things that you might consider, I don't know, brainwashing or this and that and the other, and just understand how they are just something per se. It's the same old story about technologies, thinking that the internet was created for the US military and now it's become a great venue for all of us to do stuff with. And so, we're interested in seeing what really technology can do in architecture, not necessarily having a little bit of a blind eye to what, how they're generally used and how you can use them in architecture and what they can bring in. It's an interesting way of dematerializing space, and or it's a way of introducing content or views equally to a window into another reality. And so, obviously it's got incredible, great architectural values that definitely are worthwhile to be explored. They are not connected necessarily to the content that we generally see through these technologies.
I have almost kind of indiscreet or practical question about the way you run your practice. It seems that your activity is like torn between, in a way, art installation on one side and, let's call it, conventional architecture, which consists to run, do competition. How does it affect the way you run your practice? And how you establish yourself?
You want to take
We kind of started, this has developed as a natural thing, obviously. So it's not that we thought, oh, let's do this and let's do that. A little bit, I think it comes historically, if we want to frame it from an historical point of view, it comes from the fact that we started in an unconventional way, in the sense that we didn't work for somebody else, but we started our office one day. We said, okay, from today we open low tech. We had a vision, obviously, of what we wanted to do, and although we hadn't done anything, so it was an idea, it was a concept. And more in a way in which an artist starts his career, we literally found a place, we found a loft, which is the one in which we still are, and started making objects at a smaller scale, but very much based on the same idea of working with existing objects and technologies and seeing what was happening, sort of giving programs to all of these things that we were doing. And obviously we were very interested in the results, so we kept working, believing that we were doing it at a small scale, but that this concept could be brought to the scale of a building and so on and so forth. What happened is that it's been very hard for us in the first years of our work to fit in the architecture world, obviously, because we were perceived as outsiders, we were perceived as people that were doing something awkward. Also, we were making a lot of stuff, including the first residential buildings. We did a lot of work ourselves. And instead, the art world was immediately very receptive. Because I guess what we were doing, not because what we're doing is undone in the arts, but they were looking at it as an interesting way to approach architecture. So we started working with, galleries, museums, and so on and so forth. So kind of from the beginning, a little bit the fact that our research also involved from the beginning self-sponsored projects, things that we believed in, that we were interested in, and we wanted to design, whether there was a real commission or a competition. it didn't really matter. You know, sometimes they were just things that we had in our mind, and therefore we did them. And that also a little bit has the nature of a more removed kind of operation. But because of that, we have sort of like walked these two paths kind of in a parallel way. So we never really saw a distinction. When we did, you know, a commercial project, and I don't know how much of this, you know, is apparent in the work, but for us approaching remodeling of an apartment like the Morton Loft, where we, you know, put in this tanker cut in two and so on and so forth, or an installation that one day a gallerist proposed us to do in his gallery, was very much the same thing. You know, it was thinking in a different way about a program and a way to solve it from a low-tech point of view. Same story.
How do we manage it? We don't know. Don't ask. We don't. Yes. What is the question?
That is it, the question is about scale, the change in scale, or also the change in, you know, the fact that we were making things versus now that we are designing, you know, also the... Uh-huh. Well, for us, this is the very exciting point we are at, really. You know, it's that since we started, we believed that what we were doing could go to a really large scale, a little bit because we started much smaller than even a residential interior. We started really making sculptures. You know, we used to call them furniture. They were these awkward contraptions that, you know, did all these things, but they were very much at the scale of you know, a human body, one body, something that went around the body. So we always thought that this could become architecture, and you know, we sort of projected, and we started thinking about, you know, moving from the object that we might have found in the street, you know, by our studio, like the crate for the mail or something like that, or the barrel, or, you know, more common objects, to thinking about, can we use containers, can we use trucks, can we use tanks, mixers, and so on and so forth. And now we are at this other point, which is you know, going to a much larger scale. And for us, it's a challenge, of course. You know, it's a challenge that we are embracing because we believe that we can bring it to that level. A little bit, you know, when we started, I think we thought that we could just grow getting bigger objects, and then bigger objects, and bigger objects, and basically repeating the operation that we're doing at a small scale or at the art scale. And instead, now we are at a point where we are also interested in, number one, thinking about buildings that are made out of assembly of smaller objects. And number two, also in thinking about more hybrid constructions that can bring together, you know, a lot of the things that we are interested in that also appear in the urban scan of moments of construction, like the idea of temporarity or unfinished, things that are unfinished, and so on and so forth, together with the research that we're doing on objects. So, you know, we'll see how it develops and how far we can push it.
Do you have a particular attitude towards transparency?
Towards what?
Transparency. I don't see very many transparent.
That's a good question. Maybe because there aren't very many low transparent materials. Transparency, I guess, is
I guess even also there it's very much about a little bit about attention that we're also interested in. You know, of course, we are fascinated, like everybody, with the. I mean, there is the fascination of the modern glass wall, of the modern glass enclosure, transparent building, but you know, we believe that we feel that we are in a moment in which it's more interesting to bring in a different definition of that and more of attention that is not just about creating, you know, keep thinking about the glass wall and so on and so forth. There are also, we're starting working, now that we're working on bigger buildings, on bigger projects, we are also taking into consideration problems of sustainability and what it means to, you know, create a building that is completely made out of glass and all of that. But it's not just about that. It's also about the idea of you know, a little bit. I guess you can see it in some of our projects. The idea of enclosing and yet opening and creating, you know, kind of floor-to-ceiling openings that the body is completely confronted with the outside, but at the same time not having just, you know, one big glass wall all the time, or a total glassed-in, you know, the Mies thing. We're interested in creating more of a tension between the two.
I wanted to ask you what your thoughts are in terms of creating a certain kind of a new lifestyle, as clearly by using all these industrial objects, tank and cargo, all of those. It is very clear that you have taken what is existing changing, but at the same time, that one has certain limitations. And the way one occupies those space may be different. So I just wanted to ask what your thoughts are this new
Well, I guess for us, this is what is exciting ultimately, you know, especially, I want to say also, you know, in the very simple projects that we've done, you know, in the, you know, little residence and little fix up and this and that. What is exciting is that what we found, which ties a little bit with something that I was saying at the beginning about the intelligence of the container, but what we found is that obviously there is a will on our side to think about how we live today and to think that, you know, architecture and space should come along, you know, should transform and change and develop just like our lifestyle is changing. What we found really interesting in working with these containers is that there is something that is that happens, that is triggered almost despite ourselves. You know, again, the Morton Loft is a very good example. When we started thinking about the space, I always think that if I had to design that space out of nothing, out of a pencil or a laptop, I know I would never design that kind of shape for you know, the sleeping areas, or which is an interesting thing, you know, because it's not about being enamored with a shape or trying to do something that is formal, although at the end there are also all those things. And what is curious is that instead, the moment you think, for us it's more of a conceptual thinking, you know, we think conceptually, how can we compress these functions and open up the space, and at the end, this tank appears in our mind, and it's like, boof, and it solves the project. And it's amazing because it does create, it forces the program to fit in a completely different frame, which ultimately, as you're saying, forces the lifestyle to change.
At the same time, it's also the other way around. The program or the desire, yours and the clients, actually force something onto the object. So it's we love the interaction with already existing objects and systems because of what they already have in terms of all their characteristics, and we love the dialogue, but it's really a dialogue. So we force a lot upon them. We cut them, we chop them, we force things into them, we explode them, and so it's not a matter of taking something in a purist way, but again, it's always about creating a tension between, the desire that somehow fits the object, and vice versa, but also there's a collapse and a struggle.
Does the selection of the object comes in the design process?
This is a little bit the question of whether the egg comes before the chicken. It's it's a curious thing because you have this program, and then you have. I think that the urban scan for us is also an archive, of course, of things that we're interested in and objects that we like, that we think are compelling, and that possibly could become part of our projects. So those objects are in the back of our minds or in the front of our minds, and it's a very hard thing to say. There is definitely a desire to use certain things and to experiment with certain things at times more than others, but it goes back and forth. I mean, there have been projects where we didn't know where we were starting from. It's not that we always know what we're starting from, and then it gels at one point, and you think like, what if we do that?
But it's interesting for us. It's also interesting to go through the selection of objects or systems or strategies very much in a conceptualizing on the program and kind of making it come out of that reading, and it's almost like an embodiment. Sometimes it's almost like that particular object or again, system. It's not just about physical objects. Sometimes it's a system that really works with what we are thinking, and they become almost an embodiment of the concept of the way that we are thinking conceptually to take on the whole program. We also find, architecture, and especially when you deal with the typical work that we get, which is refurbishments, remodelings, and so on and so forth. There's a lot of there's a very strong temptation to basically lose yourself in a myriad of details and different kind of interventions. Using these objects and having a strong conceptualization at the beginning that would make you get to that point forces us to be kind of essential in the definition. So, we tend to take all the elements of a program and make it become one thing and make it be all answered to by that one gesture, that it's the introduction of an object or the introduction of a system or something. And that for us, I think, is the moment, I don't know chronologically, but I can tell you that is the moment where we say, okay, this is good, so we can keep working on that.
Actually, it's very interesting because I think your work is more alive sampling and wrap, and you know, there's some contemporary feel for formal sort of mix master, let's call it that, than the purity that architects are generally attracted to. And it's what I particularly
Right. I think aesthetically, I agree with you. I don't know how you can split these things, but aesthetically, but sometimes what you call impurism that architects are attracted to is more slickness than purism. And you know, what you're talking about you know, the wrap and thing is the grittiness that, of course, using already existing objects or stuff like that implies. But
also not denying the pedigree or the associations or the emotional sort of detritus that the
right.
container brings with it, or
Right.
the other artifacts bring with it, so that there are many overtones.
Right.
You're not dealing with a neutralized vocabulary, but rather one that's rich in overtones and associations.
Absolutely. I think what I was trying to say is that we're not interested in doing a patchwork of things, aesthetically and also conceptually, because it's something that you can fall very easily into. And you know, we actually want to be enslaved by these objects somehow and these existing things, almost to find more rigor in a way. Then, of course, the tensions that I was talking about before create a lot of mixing of signals, but not about putting together a lot of things. At least this is the way that we're thinking right now.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.